terror birds. Imagine walking around millions of years ago, and instead of lions or wolves, the thing you had to worry about was a giant bird that couldn't even fly. Sounds harmless, right? Well, this was not harmless. These were called terror birds, and they were some of the deadliest predators to ever live. They first showed up around 60 million years ago and stuck around for ages. Some scientists even think a few might have survived up until about 15,000 years ago, which means early humans could have actually run into them. And that is terrifying. These birds were not small either. Some stood taller than a man, while others grew over 3 meters high and weighed as much as 350 kilos. And the craziest part was their beaks. They were huge, hooked, and sharp enough to split bone in a single strike, but they did not need to fly. On land, they were like sprinting monsters, running up to 65 kilometers an hour. If one spotted you, there was no way you were outrunning it. Now imagine being an early human, casually walking through the grasslands, when one of these giant birds locked eyes with you. You would try to hide, maybe climb a tree, but even then, your chances were slim. One hit from that beak could kill you right on the spot. However, it was not just the attacks that made them terrifying. It was the constant fear. Every open plain came with the risk of running into one. People would have had to choose carefully where to live or hunt, because certain areas basically belonged to the terror birds. And this was crazy, because even fertile valleys and rich hunting spots would have become useless if the birds were around. You would starve before you risked going there. Meganeura. Imagine a world over 300 million years ago, during the late Carboniferous. You see, at the time, the skies weren't empty. They were swarming with monsters. One of the wildest was Meganeura, an absolute monster, with wings nearly as wide as a hawk's, stretching up to 75 centimeters. Back then, oxygen levels hit 35%, way higher than today, letting these giant hunters dominate the dense, sticky swamps and forests. If humans had been around, just walking through the woods would have been terrifying. Meganeura wasn't your average dragonfly. Its spiny legs could snatch prey midair, and its jaws could crush anything unlucky enough to get close. You probably wouldn't be dinner, but one bite could shred skin and leave nasty wounds. Picture massive wings flapping overhead and the snap of mandibles inches from your face. And it gets crazier, because they didn't hunt alone. Swarms could harass anything on the ground, making even a quick stroll a battle for survival. Even heavy clothing couldn't protect your face, ears, or neck if you were to go out at that time and run into a swarm of these monsters. Today, oxygen levels can't support insects this big. But back then, size, speed, and aggression turned the air into a battlefield just as dangerous as the ground. Survival meant constantly watching above and below, exhausting anyone lucky enough to be alive. Arthropleura armata. If humans had walked the Carboniferous swamps alongside Arthropleura armata, it would have been one of the worst times to be alive. Arthropleura was a colossal millipede-like creature, the largest land invertebrate ever known, stretching from 1 meter up to 2.6 meters long, almost 8.5 feet, and about half a meter wide. Its body was covered in armored jointed segments that glinted in the light, forming a living wall of tough plates. And the craziest part was its dozens of legs, rippling in waves as it moved. Imagine coming face to face with one sprawled across a narrow forest path. It would have been impossible to ignore, and turning back would have been terrifying. But here's the thing. Arthropleura probably just ate plants or decaying matter. It wasn't hunting humans, yet its sheer size and weight made it dangerous. One unlucky step could have meant being crushed under its bulk. On top of that, some scientists think it might have secreted chemicals that could irritate eyes or lungs, meaning even brushing past it could force a blind, panicked retreat. In the dense, humid forests and swampy areas it lived in, the ground would rustle and stir at night. And for a human, there was no way to know if the sound was just the wind or the legs of a giant Arthropleura moving closer. Its slow pace might make it seem harmless, but in reality, its armor and size made it almost impossible to fight or get around. Primitive weapons wouldn't stand a chance, and forest paths were often too narrow to pass safely. Even without being aggressive, this creature could kill through sheer weight or by surprise. Jacalopterus. It's about 400 million years ago, and you're at a riverbank, just trying to take a sip of water. But then you see it. A shadow moving under the murky surface. Surprise! It's Jacalopterus, the biggest arthropod ever, stretching over 2.5 meters long, with claws that could snap bones like twigs. This thing even looked scary. It could lie completely still in shallow water, waiting for the right moment to strike. Its claw was nearly 1/2 meter long, sharp, and strong enough to grab and crush anything that came too close. Even standing ankle deep, you'd be in danger. One sudden lunge could drag you under before you had a chance to scream. Its eyes were incredible, able to spot the tiniest movement from meters away. Once it locked onto a target, escape wasn't an option. No human could swim fast enough, especially in deep, murky water, where it could vanish with its prey without a trace. And the worst part is that you couldn't avoid water. Drinking, bathing, or crossing a river was risky. One wrong step, one careless move, and it was over. Every trip to the water would have been nerve-wracking. You'd watch every ripple and shadow, wondering if it was just a fish, or Jacalopterus waiting for the perfect strike. Gorgonopsian. Imagine it's the late Permian, and you're stepping outside your shelter just to get some water, thinking it's a normal day, when you notice a movement in the shadows and realize something huge is watching you. It's a Gorgonopsian, one of the deadliest predators of its time, chest high or bigger, with saber teeth as long as your hand and legs built to run faster than you could ever hope to. And the craziest part is that you would have never been able to hear it coming until it was almost on top of you, thanks to their feet that had adapted to hunt without being sensed. These predators weren't just wandering around, they were hunters, and one wrong step could make them lunge from behind a tree or rock, with their mouths wide open, ready to rip you to pieces. The fangs of these beasts were so sharp that they could easily snap through flesh and bone. Another really interesting fact about them was that they were strategic. They could bite, back off, and wait for you to weaken, which meant even one strike could easily end your life. Everywhere you looked, danger could be hiding. With eyes and a nose far better than yours, humans would have been easy prey. Even just walking to get water or food became a gamble, because one careless step or glance could be the last thing you ever did. Quetzalcoatlus. Quetzalcoatlus was an absolute monster. A pterosaur from the late Cretaceous, with a wingspan bigger than a small airplane, and standing as tall as a giraffe, easily matching a grown T-Rex in height. It weighed over 400 pounds, had a long, sharp beak stretching 8 to 10 feet, and could snatch lizards, fish, or even small dinosaurs. Its size and its strength and those massive wings made it a predator, built for both land and air. And for humans, it would have been nightmare-level danger. It could swallow a human whole. And its beak wasn't just for show. That thing could crush bones or stab anyone who got too close, like a living weapon built for destruction. On land, it didn't just walk. It ran on 2 legs, fast and powerful, towering over anyone unlucky enough to be near it. You wouldn't stand a chance if it decided you were dinner. But it didn't stop there. It could take to the air, spreading its wings and gliding long distances, scanning huge areas like a flying hunter. From above, it could spot movement, swoop down without warning, and strike with deadly precision. It was probably territorial too, snapping at anything that crossed its path. And even though its bones were hollow for flight, that didn't make it any less deadly. Its speed, size, and power more than made up for fragility. Humans had nothing to defend themselves with, no way to outrun or outfight it, and a single encounter could easily be fatal. Dimetrodon. Dimetrodon lived around 295 million years ago, during the early Permian, and it was a predator you definitely wouldn't want to meet. Some grew over 12 feet long, weighed as much as 550 pounds, and stood about a meter tall at the shoulders. On top of that, its massive sail added another meter to its height, making it look even bigger and more intimidating. A predator built to dominate everything around it. Its skull was enormous, filled with sharp, conical teeth, and its jaws could crush bone and tear through flesh with terrifying ease. It moved on strong, muscular legs that could lift its body and tail off the ground, letting it run fast, ambush prey, and strike with deadly precision. Dimetrodon wasn't just big. It was fast, powerful, and built perfectly to hunt anything in its path. Your only shot at getting away from this monster would have been hiding, staying completely out of sight, and hoping it didn't notice you. T-Rex. Tyrannosaurus rex was an absolute nightmare, one of the largest and deadliest land predators ever. It stretched over 40 feet long, stood as tall as 18 feet at the hips, and weighed more than a large African elephant. Its skull alone was 5 feet long, filled with teeth longer than a human finger, sharp enough to crush bone in a single bite. It could run at 10 to 12 miles per hour, fast enough to catch a sprinting human, and its huge, powerful legs and heavy tail kept it balanced while hunting. Every step shook the ground, and its roar could echo across the plains, warning anything nearby that danger was close. T-Rex didn't need to chase humans very far. Its size, strength, and bite made one mistake instantly deadly. Even when it wasn't hunting, it could strike with terrifying speed. Its sense of smell was so good, it could track prey over long distances, following humans or other animals without losing their trail. Living in a world with T-Rex would have been terrifying, because humans practically had nothing to defend themselves with. Deinosuchus. Deinosuchus was a true monster, a prehistoric crocodile that lived 75 to 82 million years ago. It stretched over 30 feet long, weighed as much as 15 tons, and was built to crush anything that got too close. Its jaws were packed with massive, blunt teeth, strong enough to bite through bone and snap canoes like they were twigs. Its bite force is estimated at over 18 metric tons, enough to crush almost anything in its path. It was an ambush predator, lying in wait along rivers and coasts. From the surface, it could look like just a floating log, hiding until the perfect moment to strike. 1 second, you're standing near the water. The next, it bursts up, dragging you under with a strength no human could resist. Even if you saw it coming, escaping would be almost impossible. Its size, speed, and power meant it could pin and drown you in seconds. For humans, living where Deinosuchus roamed would have been terrifying. Every riverbank, every step into shallow water could be your last. One wrong move, one slip, and its jaws would end your life instantly. Even staying far from its rivers wouldn't make you safe. Just knowing a monster that size could be anywhere nearby would definitely make every day a living hell. Mosasaurus. Mosasaurus hoffmanni was one of the deadliest predators of the late Cretaceous seas. Most grew over 35 feet long, and some nearly reached 55 feet. They could weigh as much as 15 tons, bigger than a bus, and stronger than anything a human could fight. Its body was sleek and streamlined, built for speed, with massive flippers and a tail that could launch it through the water in sudden explosive bursts. Its jaws were packed with 17-centimeter, dagger-like teeth, able to crush shells, bones, or a human in a single bite. For anyone swimming in those waters, danger could appear without warning. One moment the sea looks calm, the next a dark shadow glides beneath you. Before you could even react, Mosasaurus could strike. One lunge and your body could be torn apart. Half of it gone before you even knew what happened. Hiding behind rocks, clinging to coral, or trying to stay near the surface wouldn't help. It could ram you loose, drag you under, and drown you in seconds. There was practically no safe space in its territory, and once it locked its eyes on you, there was no escaping. Gigantopithecus blacki was the largest ape that ever lived, a true giant of the forests. Standing close to 10 feet tall and weighing more than 600 pounds, it towered over any human who might have crossed its path. Its body was built with massive shoulders, powerful arms, and jaws strong enough to grind tough bamboo into pulp. It wasn't a predator, but its size alone made it dangerous. Walking through the dense jungles of Asia during the Ice Age, you could hear heavy cracks of branches ahead, not from the wind, but from something moving on two legs, taller than a doorway and wider than a man. If you stepped too close to where it was feeding, it could charge in an instant. One swing of its enormous arm could shatter bones, and a shove could send you crashing into the trees. Even if you were only gathering fruit, the risk was everywhere. Gigantopithecus could simply knock you down without effort, and in the narrow jungle paths, there would be nowhere to escape. Climbing a tree wouldn't save you, because it could reach, pull, or follow with terrifying ease. For a mother protecting her young, the danger grew even greater. Her reaction would be fast and unstoppable, and no human could withstand the force. Though it ate only plants, an encounter with Gigantopithecus could still be fatal.